Kristine, you are I already know this about you, so fun and so fabulous and just full of grace and generosity. And I've loved our few minutes of chatting before I hit record and know that this is going to be a really beautiful but powerful conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. I look forward to seeing what we're going to cook up today.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be
Good,
great.
good.
Yes. So I would love to start by knowing how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
Well, I am saying yes to myself in this season by not being retired and not doing what many of my dear friends are doing. And I decided, well, I retired once
Okay.
and that just didn't work out too well. I mean, I missed my professional self. I missed that part of myself. And I felt like I still had more to do and more to give and more to think about. And so I said yes to myself by focusing on writing a book. And then I had to figure out, did I really want to go the next little step, which is talking to people like you, Wendy, and promoting the book and speaking to some professional groups and things like that, which I'm doing. And I said yes to that. And so here I am. But of course, I said yes to myself even before that, or I wouldn't have written the book because the
Correct.
book was something that I did as a way of dealing with some issues that I had not taken care of themselves in the many years that I'd been a psychotherapist. And so I said yes to myself when I decided to sit down and really focus on what I called being my own client. And
Mm,
and out of that came the material that I have for working with people who have those feelings that we all do, which is that I'm not quite good enough, and am I really worth it, and can I really do it, and all those kinds of things. So it was kind of a series of yeses, and I hope that series keeps going. Quite frankly.
I
Mhm.
can't imagine it stopping.
Thank
It's
you.
so, I love that trajectory and thank you for your generosity. I'm really interested to know how this process went for you because obviously we teach what we need to learn and we know all the sayings about the plumber has leaky pipes and here you are working with clients and you know the tools, you know they work, and yet there can be this disconnect in this blind spot that we have in our own expansion, our own growth.
Yes.
How how did you know that was going to be the process when you decided to write the book, or was it a graceful unfolding as you were writing this and thought, huh, I've heard this before?
Well, actually, I'd love to tell you that about that because you and I were speaking before about where we live, and I had had a very successful practice in Sacramento,
Okay.
and and I had been a psychotherapist. I don't know, like maybe 35 years or something, and I was just really, really deeply tired, and
Sure.
so I closed my practice and I moved to the California coast. And once my professional life went away and I wasn't filling my head with my clients' stories anymore and trying to figure out how to work with them, my personal stuff just started coming more to the fore.
Yeah.
And so I had always known that I had this really deep sense of unworthiness. And as much as I'd worked with my clients over the years, and I think I'd been very helpful to them about it, there was something that just continued to linger inside of me. And I was very unhappy about it. I thought, how come? And, I've read books and I went to seminars and, I affirmations. I mean, you name it, I did it. And things had gotten better. But I thought to myself, I am just not going to keep going in the rest of my life feeling this feeling that would
Yes.
come up at the most inopportune, awful times. And I used to focus on, oh, I need to hide this because I didn't want other
Mm.
people to know that I had this lingering feeling. But now I was beyond thinking about what other people thought about it. It was like, I don't like this feeling within myself. And I really have got to do some work on this. So, can I tell you the little story about
I
the little
want all of
thought?
it. It's so great.
Thank you. Thank you. So I decided that I was going to sit down with myself in the morning, not every morning, but in the morning. And I was going to have some coffee, look at the ocean, and have these little conversations with myself to see what was going on. And one morning I was sitting and having coffee, and this memory came to me. And it was a memory that from my childhood, from when I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old. It was a very familiar memory. I had gone over it many times. And I thought to myself, oh God, here we go again. And, but it just came kind of rolling out like it does.
Right.
And I noticed that I was looking at it a little differently. I was, instead of thinking who said what, who did what, then what happened, instead I focused in on the moment of when I had felt so hurt and so upset and so angry. And I saw that underneath of that was this big, huge well of feeling that I hadn't really been in touch with. I'd been too focused on who said what and who did what.
Sure.
And this big well of feeling, when I looked at it, I thought, oh my God, that is shame. And one of the reasons that I knew that, well, let me just say that the affirming data about why that was shame was because I watched what happened. I collapsed, I became compliant, I went along with the program, I acted as though nothing had happened. I just felt sick inside, but I didn't show it. I put on this face, the whole thing. And I thought, wow. Now, Brene Brown had written some books. So shame was in my,
Sure.
lexicon here. But as a therapist, and I think this is true for many therapists, until fairly recently, there was not a lot of conversation in the therapeutic community, at least not the one that I was a part of, about shame. It
Yes.
was about being ashamed or being
Mhm.
embarrassed or whatever, but not the kind of shame that starts back in the very beginnings of our life as children. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about this. So I just read. And because I sort of start from the place of feeling inadequate, I probably read for like maybe a year more than I needed to read. But as I read, I started learning more and more about it. And this is what I think is so great. And that is, and I know you know this, Wendy, and so do your listeners, the more you know about something, the more power you have
That's
to
right.
figure out what you're going to do about it.
Yeah.
And so as I started identifying what shame is, how it starts, how it expresses itself, how it becomes a pattern, how it then becomes our personality, I also, and how we, organize our lives so much around that feeling of not good enough and this terrible disempowerment. I also started seeing, okay, these are the things that I know will heal it.
Mm.
And they were things that I had been using with my clients over the years, but I never put it together. It was kind of, I would say, more, I don't want to say haphazard because that doesn't sound very good, but it was more, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It just wasn't as strategic as I
Right.
was able to organize it.
Well, because you're also on both sides of the equation.
I am
So
on both
when
sides of
you,
the
right,
equation.
when you were suggesting it to your clients as a tool, you were just on this side, but you are now looking at, I'm feeling the issue and I'm
Yes.
looking in my toolbox so I can
Yes.
really see that, ooh, this one's not going to work, but this modality or thought system or reframing is going to work.
Yes. That's a very insightful thing to say
Mm.
because that is absolutely true. Except I want to add one more thing, and that
Please,
is I would go into a little shame spiral when something came up
of
that I
course.
resonated with my client. And one of the things that happens when we go into a shame spiral is we don't think very clearly. You know
Sure.
how there's those two voices, like, oh, they're saying this, and oh, I'm feeling this, and oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, and oh my God, what am I going to say in response to that? And da da da. And so, eventually I would manage to get into my professional self, but it was wearing.
That is
If I
so fascinating because I'm imagining you as you were telling the story of your younger self having this experience and the way that you, in brilliant survival
Yes,
mode, you turned on all the people pleasing and did what you needed to do to feel safe
yes,
in that moment. And of course, no one was mad at you. So no one encouraged you to feel your feelings or work through it or anything. So
no, no,
that becomes your default.
yes,
And then as an adult in this situation, professionally, you're hearing this. And of course, you're just going to go to your default remedy for this sort of feeling, which is shut down everything that's happening in your personal experience and give 100% of your focus to the person in front of you, which
yes.
obviously makes professional sense as well. Like all of it makes sense logically. But then, of course, when you start writing this down or intentionally working through this, and then you're getting even more data as you read, just like, oh my gosh, you're just a little girl still trying to navigate this, but you have now a Ferrari to do it as far as all of the strategic information, but you're still a
Yes,
little girl who doesn't know how to drive it.
yes, yes. That's very nicely said. Very nicely said. And I want to add something in here that I
Yes.
discovered as I was exploring this that I think is such an important thing for people to know. And that is that I just want to talk about shame because it's a very misunderstood emotion. If I were to say to you, Wendy, what do you think shame is? You want to go there for a minute, just for the heck of it?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
because when I think of it, my initial reaction
Mm-hmm.
when I was listening to your story about
Yes.
shame, I was filled with compassion
Mm-hmm.
for little Kristine. Like
Yes.
it feels like my response to the word shame goes outward.
Okay.
And I've done enough of this work to know that that's
Yes.
probably a survival
Mm.
mechanism
Yes.
because I'm obviously, I mean, I'm 58 years old, so I'm sure I've experienced some shame and I have 100% renamed it something else. So I don't know if I can even identify a definition of that because I have no feeling of personal connection to my own experience of it.
Wow, that is so interesting because I can remember sitting with a group of colleagues. We had these meetings that we would have once a week, and they're called consultation groups, and where therapists will sit together and they will talk about particular issues that have come up that they're kind of confounded with and would like some conversation to happen. And I remember one of my colleagues said something like, I met a woman the other day, and her chief issue has to do with shame. And I remember thinking, shame? I don't ever talk to any of my clients about shame. I don't even know what is that anyway. And I look back now and I see I didn't know what it was because I was full of it and I
Exactly.
hadn't
So,
named it, you
yes. So
know?
I'm so delighted to have this conversation because I'm one of those odd people that when I discover something, I'm like, ooh, that's shadowy. Let's get a flashlight in
Yeah,
there. Like
shadowy.
I want to be better. So
Yes,
this
yes,
is
yes.
fascinating. I
Well, let
love
me
it.
thank you. Let me tell you what I learned that was just
Yeah.
so important. And that is that, you talked about survival, right? So we've all heard about these survival strategies. And we know, all of us know, fight, flight, flee. And then there's another one that people don't
Mhm.
talk about. Some people call it fawn, like FAWN. I think that is really misnamed
Ooh.
what it really is collapse, appease, and submit.
Yeah.
So when we listen to let's just say women who have been abused, and we think, why didn't you speak up?
Yeah.
Why didn't you push away your offender? Why didn't you this? Why didn't you that? And the reason is because the subconscious mind has figured out that
Mhm.
we're not, and think about a child, okay? A child raised in a hostile environment, or a child raised where there's emotional neglect, or that the kid is just not seen or not recognized. And so the kid can't fight,
Mhm.
the kid can't flee,
Mhm.
the kid could freeze, right? But that doesn't generally work out so well because there
Right.
has to be some interaction in order to continue to get the supplies that the kid needs. And so, what does the kid do? The kid collapses. The energy system just closes down, which is why shame feels like the bottom of our stomach just drops out.
Right. Mhm.
And so then they go into collapse, and then they appease, and then they submit. And this is their effort to just maintain any modicum of connection that they can possibly manage with whomever it is that they feel like they need to be connected to. And sometimes they need to be connected to the offender so
Right.
that the offender is hopefully less aggressive.
Right.
And so you want to say something here, right?
It resonates so much. And what I'm would love to hear, I obviously want to hear everything that you were already saying. And when that quote unquote offender is not violent, then the shame gets a double shame because you feel shame about feeling shame or being afraid or collapsing because that person is quote unquote nice and other people like them, but there's something about your dynamic that doesn't feel safe.
Yes, yes. Well, offenders don't just go around with a big sign of offender on them, and they
Yeah,
just don't go around, generally speaking, offending everybody.
that's right.
And so, like you say, you've got the very pleasant mom, you've got the very successful and outwardly pleasant father or
Mhm.
whomever. And so, but then there's that private little relationship that kids have with their parent. And oftentimes, it's unseen because the wounding is unseen. It's not like you have big bruises or something, although you might, but oftentimes, many times, I think you don't. And so it's even hard for the person who has been offended to even recognize how deeply hurt they are. But so then these neural pathways get wired in, right? Collapse, submit, appease,
Yes,
and women, I think, are kind of reinforced anyway to be doing that. And so then it becomes a style of relating, and it
exactly.
becomes a personality style. Uh, Now, there's many other ways, of course, that it can take, and we can get into that at some point. But um, that was really important for me to learn from two standpoints. First of all, I did not choose, no one chooses to go into the shame state. It
Right.
is a survival mechanism that the subconscious mind just like, boom, you're in it, right? And then you realize it's helpful in some ways.
For
If I
sure.
can please my mom, if I can have her be happy with me once in a blue moon, that's better than never at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we become helpful, we become over functioning, we have a role reversal, we try and cheer whomever it is up, we try and solve the marital issues within our families. We do all those kinds of things, and then we go out into the world thinking, okay, this is what I do, this is where my worth comes,
Mm-hmm.
and we move forward. But not as expansively as we could
That's all
if
right,
we
because
weren't
then
dragging
you
that stuff around,
and
right?
it influences the jobs we take,
Yes, it
people
does.
we marry,
Yes, it does.
friends, and then how we parent, and then we're
Yes,
doing it on both sides, and then
yes, yes,
and then a
absolutely.
pandemic happens, and then
Yes,
you have a giant wake up call, and then You release everybody in your life to go live their highest and best while you do yours. Yes,
That
I
sounds like
know.
a personal
Yes,
story.
it does. I know exactly what you were speaking of.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. 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 So not everybody has epiphanies during the pandemic, of course,
Right.
as you know, Wendy, and they continue to struggle along. And I know that a lot of what you talk about on this wonderful podcast is dreaming into our future
Yeah.
or dreaming our future. And I can say some things about what I discovered is helpful to help people get over shame, but I want to just sort of jump ahead and say that I think that one of the most horrible things about living within a shame focused inner world is that we don't dream a future as
Mhm.
well as we could,
Yeah.
because our nervous system and our personality style is still stuck, caught back in the let me just survive this
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so we're not living as big a life, and we're not dreaming out there, you
Right.
know. And the other thing, of course, is we're not self-focused. We're not in here going, how does Kristine feel about this? We're in here going, how can Kristine please the people
Mhm.
around her that she feels like she still needs to please
Yeah.
in order to feel acceptable?
Right.
So there's a whole lot of, am I acceptable? Am I acceptable? Am I acceptable? It's not, what does Kristine want, or what does Wendy want, or what do your viewers want? Um, and so I'm amazed sometimes when I would ask people, well, how would you like it to be? And they're like, I never really thought that much about it.
Oh,
I know, I
that's
know,
so sad. But
I know.
I get it
Yeah,
because that used to be me. Well, that's not true. I've always dreamed of something better.
good for
I
you.
just didn't realize that I was allowed to have it. I
Yes,
knew I was allowed to dream it, but
yes,
like that's where all the benefit just stopped in the visualization.
right,
But the belief was never at the level of the desire
right.
because I thought that, I grew up in church. And so these
Mm-hmm.
very easy to submit
Yes,
if you're already
yes,
prone to this fawn, to this people pleasing, that
yes,
is an organization that celebrates that
yes,
and reinforces, oh, your reward is in heaven. And the more that it sucks now in the name of Jesus, then the better the reward will be later. And I have a different belief system around those ideas now. And so for me, the permission to dream, that is not something I needed to really step into and step up into. It was the permission to have what I'm dreaming
yes,
of and to
yes,
know that, oh my God, oh, wait a minute. If these dreams are in me, these dreams are for me. What? Oh,
right.
oh, okay. These ideas are God given. Like we're co-creating this together. What?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So I
yes,
feel like I got the key to read the treasure map that and some relationships and practices
yes,
couldn't tolerate my new understanding.
yes.
And so
You
that
had to let him
that
go.
changed. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Unworthiness. That was sort of the
Yeah.
context of what you were talking about. You had your dreams, but you didn't feel worthy of having them, right? And so they just stayed out there. They
Mhm.
were just your dreams until something shifted where
Yeah.
you started feeling like, I must be worthy of having these dreams or these experiences, or I wouldn't be having them. And that is a huge step, isn't it?
Ah,
That is a very huge step,
which
really
is
huge.
why I create all these opportunities
Hmm.
for people to step into something dreamy that's already been done for them
Yes.
because, just to test the water.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, if you don't mind, I would like to
Please.
go back and just speak to the people who haven't gotten there yet. Is that okay?
Uh,
Just for a minute?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because you and I are both familiar with some work that suggests that if you're feeling horribly disempowered, you're not going to immediately go to, oh, I feel worthy enough to have
Right.
this, right?
Right. Yes.
We've got to work our way out of the hole,
Yes.
so to speak.
Mhm.
Hole, HOLE.
Yes.
And uh, and isn't it interesting that when you look at sort of the hierarchy of feelings, that we look at shame, and shame is really at the very bottom vibration
Mhm.
of of our feelings. I mean, it is like the lowest of the lowest,
Yeah.
right? And the next one, interestingly enough, if we just get a little bit more empowered, it's anger.
Right.
Now let's look at women's how we are socialized about anger,
Hmm.
right? We are socialized that nice girls do not get angry, right? And aren't we also punished for having anger?
Yes, we are.
And so, how are we ever supposed to get out of this disempowered state,
That's right.
right? We've got to get angry. We've got
That's
to,
right.
at some point around your experience of your religious upbringing,
Mhm.
you must have said, enough of this crap. I'm not going along with this program. And I'm not saying that all religions are
Totally.
as demeaning or as whatever you call it, that the one that you described or
Mhm.
your feelings about it, because they're not. But the idea of getting angry, and I remember people used to talk about getting angry with God. And I used to think, whoa, I'd be really careful if I was you.
Right.
And but anger is where we need to go if we're going to empower ourselves. Not that we stay there, we move up.
Exactly. Hmm.
And so we go from where we are to where we can go next,
That's right.
right?
Yes.
And I want to suggest that there's a couple of things that we need to learn along the way that I think are really helpful. And I figured this out. I don't say I figured it out, but it came to me because I started looking at how are children raised who are raised with healthy self-esteem.
Mm.
Because I always called my shame stuff poor self-esteem. So how
Mm.
are children raised who have good self-esteem? And there's a number of ways, of course. They're told that they have worth. They're, I love you, honey, you know, uh, all kinds of things like that, wonderful things like that, that just are so amazing in terms of how it nurtures us. But
Yes.
the other thing is, they're taught how to manage what we call their nervous system regulation, just to use that word, which is like, what the hell does that mean? But but how they're taught to do that is they're taught to have self-soothing conversations with themselves, which is the opposite of how shame talks to us.
Right.
And so if our listeners, and I'm one of them, if you're raised and you don't have those kinds of self-soothing conversations, those self-encouraging conversations within your mind that you can draw on lickety split when you need them,
Yeah.
then you are at a terrible disadvantage. And Wendy, sometimes I would say to my clients when they would tell me something awful that happened, I would say, well, what did you say to yourself? And
Mm.
they would repeat something to me that was very negative, and I realized they don't have that in them. And
Right.
so, interestingly enough, I would say it to them. I would give them something like, you're doing fine, you're getting there, that was okay, everybody makes mistakes. And then I realized I need to learn more of those myself. I purposely ran around finding those phrases and putting them into my emotional lexicon. I
Yes.
wanted them
Right.
and I needed them. And so does everybody. So if your listeners are a little short on those, or they think that they can skip into, oh, I can feel really, really good without having these ways to calm themselves when things aren't going
Yeah.
necessarily really, really good in that moment. They need self-soothing.
Yeah.
They need they need to be able to forgive themselves for all their mistakes, because God knows, yes, God does know,
God does know.
and we know
Yep.
that being a human being is about a whole bunch of mistakes, right?
Right.
That's how we learn.
Yes.
To use the language that you're familiar with, this is how we sort.
That's
Is,
right.
oh, I did that this way, I felt like this, that was not a
Mhm.
good feeling, I don't want to keep going back there, you know.
Exactly.
And
And
that's
these practices, this self-soothing dialogue that we have, monologue that we have with ourselves,
mm-hmm.
that's that is what moves us through and up that emotional ladder to a
Yes,
better feeling thought. And
yes,
it's a new language. So
yes,
it's clunky at first, and that's okay.
yes,
But you're just going to keep going. But it does take, like you said, you had to add these practices and these words to your emotional lexicon. And you're a psychotherapist with decades of experience. So it doesn't matter who you were.
yes,
These are practices that support who you're becoming.
yes, I like that. That's absolutely true. Yes. Can I name a couple of more
I
practices?
want to know them all.
You're so fun. Life is delicious to you, isn't it,
Isn't
Wendy?
it? Yes. And I love all of this. And I know I'm
uh,
not trying to make it about me. I'm loving the connecting of the dots.
yes.
And I'm also hoping for the listener that
Uh-huh.
seeing it play out in somebody else's experience
Yes.
can sometimes make it easier to actually hear
Yes.
because we're not saying, yeah, but you don't understand. I had it
Yes.
really, really bad or
Yes.
whatnot.
Yes.
So, yes,
Yes.
please tell me more.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the one that you just mentioned right here. You know, one of the things that people do is, and I honestly think that psychotherapy, perhaps the kind, there's all different kinds of schools of psychotherapy, so we can't just lump it in.
Sure.
But the kind of psychotherapy that I was exposed to, and I think the one that's kind of in the popular cultural mindset, is that we go back over our stories of the things that happened to us.
Mm,
Now, there is a value in doing that, but as someone says, once you get the message, hang up the phone.
I love that. Yes.
So we go back into our stories because we want to see how we felt at that time. We want to see what we need in order to help ourselves with how we felt. Perhaps we see a lesson learned. Perhaps we see that we need additional support. Perhaps we see that, oh, that was then. The people in my life now are much more affirming and supportive. And then at some point, we need to decide we're going to stop telling our stories. Now, I don't know if I doubt this is true for you, but it's certainly true for me. There would be stories that I would tell that were kind of litmus tests. It's like,
Mm,
if you listen to this story, then I know that you really care about me. This is this is the truth of how it used to be. And I would also want to be affirmed. Oh, Kristine, you just really had it tough. And
mhm.
then I would want them to um, maybe have a little pity or something like that. I'd want them to join me in really being angry at
Mhm.
whoever it was that had offended me. That just gave me great satisfaction. Yeah.
Yes. And I wanted them to use a swear word about how bad they were because I never did that.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
so
This
if they could,
enlightenment came with a potty mouth.
uh,
So now I do use the words. But yes,
yeah,
I just like you. I mean, it was almost like we had scripts
yes. Oh,
that
yeah,
we and I'm telling the story the same way. This is where your eyebrows raise. This is where I'm going to pause for you to say, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding? They said that?" And then I'm going to keep going. Like, yes,
I
I'm with
know.
you.
Yeah.
And
And
then you just get so tired of your own damn story.
yes, Thank heavens,
Yes.
because we need to get tired of our own damn story. Because if you think about it, two things are happening. We're reinforcing the neural pathways of
Mhm.
that experience. We're viscerally reliving it.
Yes.
How healthy is that? And
Absolutely.
we're not spending our time thinking about our future and how we want things to be, right?
Yeah.
So I say to people, and sometimes they don't like it. And when you're the therapist, you have to be really careful about your timing. But, I start inquiring in what I hope are supportive ways about whether people are ready to give up telling that story
Right.
so that they can move into creating a different story,
Yes,
right?
and that is the key. You're not just going to lose all your material. It's not like you're not going to have anything to say now. When you talk to people, you get to tell a new story. And it doesn't even have to be some twist on what already happened. No,
Exactly.
let's talk about who you're becoming. It's,
Yes.
a few months ago, at a Say Yes Summit, we were talking about I was working on my website and I was redoing some stuff and it's like the about page. It was such a slog because like I said, I'm 58 years old. There's a lot of paragraphs on the about page and
Uh huh.
I am completely disinterested in
Oh,
all of them. I don't want to talk about who I was and how I got here and how hard it was and how long it took and blah, blah, blah. I want to talk about the woman I'm becoming.
how
I want to,
interesting.
right? Like, I don't even
Yeah.
want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. I want to, like, I'm so glad you're here. Let's create something together. And the champagne is chilling and yay, let's do it. So excited. So I
Yes.
love that how once we feel safe enough, because
Mm-hmm.
safety is the key, I think, to all of this, to any personal development and to any dreams that you have.
Mm-hmm.
We manifest at the level of safety that we feel. And,
Yes.
so as we are rewriting these
Mm-hmm.
narratives and
Mm-hmm.
creating this safe space for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and curating the community that supports
Yes.
these people that we're becoming and these new narratives that we're leaning into, it gets easier because
Yes.
mastery comes from repetition and
Yes.
what we focus on grows. And so
Yes.
the story grows and expands as we grow and expand. And then someone fascinatingly, who you haven't talked to for a while, will come into your experience. And the first thing that they'll ask you about is some story you used to tell because your vibration's where you last left it. And that's what that person is hanging on to. And then, like, oh, yeah, I don't even think about that anymore. Let me tell you about
Exactly.
this. And I want to know, like,
Exactly.
where are you going? I don't really care where you've been. It's all from right now. This is all of our power is right now.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. As I was writing the book, there was a point at which I was my own personal, let's just say, empowerment was so far ahead of where the book was that I would just think I do not want to keep writing this book because I do not want to go back over this. I
Right.
don't want to remember my client stories. I don't want to remember mine. I'm like I'm moving on. and
Yes.
and so I actually just I had to make myself do it
Yeah.
because I just would say, okay, I'm doing this for somebody else. And but I absolutely understand. I absolutely understand so many of the conversations that I had, and still sometimes will find myself uh, starting to tiptoe into, are what we call problem saturated stories. It's
Ooh.
like they're just stories about our problems. And that's how we relate, the old misery likes company kind of thing.
Hmm.
But empowerment likes company too.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And doesn't it get
Yeah.
bigger?
It does. It does.
I mean, I feel like I feel so expanded from this conversation.
Great.
It's
It,
so beautiful. So, in the book, You're sharing, it's beautiful. Bruised, Not Broken is such a gorgeous, gorgeous name. Title. I want to understand. I mean, I feel like this conversation has given me such a beautiful picture of how writing the book impacted and expanded you.
Yes.
But if that were the only goal, you would never need to publish it because you could just check that box. So,
Right.
what are you wanting the reader to experience through this beautiful work?
Well, I want the reader to experience, first of all, the hope that they do not have to live with this disempowering voice, shame speak. I call it shame speak.
Mm.
And within the book, I talk about that inner critic, shame speak, and what are some exercises and things you can do about it. But what I want is, I want people, no matter what their age, because you can see that I am significantly older than you, Wendy, and I don't want people to have to go decades and decades and decades with this feeling inside of themselves that they just think, I've tried everything under the sun and it hasn't worked. So I guess this is just what I'm stuck with. And so I want people to have hope about that. And then the other thing is that the book really clearly lays out how we can understand shame and how we can understand that it was a survival system,
Mhm.
and that we needed it and it worked for us. And we can think what we want to think as we look back. But there is a certain amount of gratitude I think we should have that we were,
Sure.
I don't want to say ingenious because that makes it sound like maybe we were cooking it up, but maybe we were cooking it up. I don't know. But there was an ingenious aspect to that. The
Right.
problem is we got stuck in it. And now we need to figure out how to unstick. And so the healing part of the book is, I think, really pretty well laid out in terms of, here are some steps, here are some exercises, here are some reflection questions. Please write in your journal. And I talk about that so that people can use the book if they want to augment their psychotherapy or their own inner journey or whatever. And then we get to the end of it, and there's a section on forgiveness.
Mm.
Now, when I thought about writing that, I was like, oh boy, because there is so much baggage around forgiveness. It's like, oh my goodness. And I found some studies done by this man who was a psychologist who actually has some very good studies of people who have gone through a forgiveness process where he has a group of incest survivors.
Oh,
uh,
wow.
I know, really. I mean, if you
Ugh,
can move into forgiveness and you're an incest survivor, that is an example I want to model,
for
right?
sure.
And so he did some pre and post tests, and he found that at the end of, I think it was almost a year of working on this forgiveness process that he lays out, and that I also advocate in my book. At the end of that, these women uh, were not depressed. They were not within the range of clinical depression. Their anger had subsided significantly. They reported much more feelings of hopefulness and looking forward to their future and stuff. And so, anyway, I brought in the scientific, if you will, aspects of forgiveness, and really pointed to that forgiveness is for ourselves, as you know, right?
100%. Yep.
And so people who say they don't want to forgive so and so because it was just a horrible, horrible thing and nobody should ever be forgiven for that. It reminds me of this quote where someone said, that's like drinking poison and hoping that it will kill the other person.
That's right.
It just isn't going to work that way. So we unburden ourselves from carrying this around and carrying that vibration of hate with us by going through this process of forgiveness.
Mm.
And we owe it to ourselves, because then you see, we can get on with the other things. We don't need any more disempowered, crippled people. We need people, particularly, I love it when it's women who step forward and they're empowered and they're thinking about their future. They're raising their children in a way that's healthy. They're hanging out with their friends and talking about what's possible and what the future might hold. And you know the rest of it.
Yes, it's a love fest.
It's a love fest.
It is
Yes.
because it is this dismantling of a thought system based on fear,
Yes. Lack of safety.
right? And
Lack of
rebuilding it
safety.
with one based in love. And that
Yes.
is expansive and full of possibility.
Yes. Yes.
It's so beautiful. Um,
Yes.
Kristine, I adore you.
Oh, thank you.
I have loved this conversation. In
Thank
fact,
you.
my wheels are spinning of how I can collaborate with you and a couple of women that I have recently had on the podcast that are also a little bit older than me.
Mhm.
And the wisdom and experience and vitality and youthfulness that comes from what you've unlocked through your work, you are not like you're aging backwards. That's what this does, right? Because it
Yes, it does.
releases you. You're
Uh-huh.
dropping all of the weight of what is
Hmm.
not serving you.
Yes.
And the more that women can hear these stories and the earlier they can
Yes.
hear these stories,
Yes.
this phrase divine feminine rising
Yes.
is as beautiful and scary to the current systems of power as it
Yes.
sounds. But this
Yes.
is a tsunami of love, and you are on the leading edge of it. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful to know you, to have had this beautiful conversation. And I cannot wait to see what's next.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. You're an inspiration to me.
It's so fun.
Absolutely.
That's because
Hmm.
we're the vibrational match.
Yes, we are.
It's so fun.
I'm very
Please,
grateful for that. Yes.
you. Me too. Please tell
Mhm.
everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get the book, all the good things.
Well, you can follow me on LinkedIn and you can go to my website, Kristine Jensen, Kristine with a K. And you can buy my book on Amazon. And Barnes and Nobles is having some problems right now, so that isn't working out so well. If you don't like Amazon, you can send me a message and I'll make sure that you get an autographed book.
Perfect.
And so I'm continuing to evolve what I'm thinking. I'm putting it on blogs on my website. So that's another opportunity. And then who knows what you and I might cook up, Wendy.
Well, I've got some good ideas already. Well, we will link everything down in the show notes, but
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for your time. I have loved this conversation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Take care.
You too.